Hey guys, it's Warhawk back again with another squad main battle tank guide. Today we're going to be talking about the T72, its strengths, its weaknesses, its playstyle and positioning, and how to go against it. Hope you guys find this guide helpful and enjoy the video. Oh my god! Ices, did you see that? I just hit a heli from like 2,000 out. Holy shit.
Zero to it. He's gonna be in front, he's gonna be in front, he's in front, he's in front, he's in front. You track thugs? You double track thugs. We're like, he's burning. He's dead, he's dead. You shoot him one more time, he's dead. We're fine.
One enemy tank destroyed. Alright guys, first topic of this video is playstyle and positioning. Playstyle is more going to be for against armor, and positioning is going to be against infantry, just to add an extra element to the video. Now, the T72's playstyle, as you probably saw in the thumbnail, is hold down. So I'm going to put an example on screen of like a perfect scenario for you to be in, which is having your hull on the backside of a hill, right? So it's angled up a bit, and that will make the top of your turret a bit harder to hit. So now your hull is covered, the top of your turret is covered, and the only thing showing is your gun breech and your ERA plates. It is very hard for enemy gunners to hit that and do damage, especially from long range, even in close range. As you can see in this example coming up on screen now, he bounces all of his shots and I pin all of mine. His mistake, coming at me while I'm hold down, he came straight at me and I tracked him and that was it. He's done. There was no chance he was going to win that. So your main thought in the T72 is, how do I minimize my hull visibility, and how do I maximize my strength, which is the turret being so strong and very hard to pin. In my opinion, this is how you do it. I'll show the example again. Just a screenshot this time. Get your hull behind a hill. Obviously, always ask your gunner if they have enough depression to be able to shoot, because it's a useless position if you can't even shoot back. Just keep that in mind. Let's talk about positioning. Positioning to fight infantry. My rule of thumb, and my friends also do this, minimum 200 meters of space between you and enemy infantry. This tank has a super zoomed in scope, even on its most zoomed out setting, so your peripheral vision is just non-existent. And if you're not running a third seat, I see a lot of people run two-seaters. This is the only tank I recommend you run 3 people in, because the gunner just isn't going to be able to see everything. He's only going to see what's in front of him. The commander seat needs to be manned in this tank to cover every other direction. It is very important that you run that, or you play back the whole time and have your driver switch to the commander seat. Either one works. Again, my rule of thumb when engaging infantry is 200 meters at the least. Honestly, I recommend 300 meters. That's the range where lats have a bit of trouble landing track shots, especially when they're facing from your front. And hat kits will have a bit of trouble not hitting your turret and not bouncing. So we'll bump it up to 300 meters. If you sit at 300 meters away from any type of enemy infantry, you should be fine, especially with a commander seat. Alright, moving on to T72's loadout and strengths and weaknesses. The loadout of the T72 for the Russians is Sabo rounds, heat rounds, frag rounds, and ATGMs. You also get coax like every other tank. The ATGMs are good to use on enemy tanks that are unsuspecting. You catch them off guard. Although, honestly, if you catch a tank off guard, I would just use the 4 Sabo. When facing multiple tanks and you catch one off guard, I'd hit it with the ATGM. And honestly, it all depends on the situation and which one you're more comfortable with. ATGM can be a bit iffy. It's not as easy to control as the tow, as the stationary tow or the IFV tows like the Bradley or VMP. To go over what each round is used for, I would recommend using heat rounds on structures such as enemy HABs or FOBs, whichever one you like to call it. Against enemy tow positions, enemy machine gun positions, I would use heat rounds. Against enemy infantry that are in buildings or just out in the open, I would use frag rounds. Splash damage is really good against infantry. When facing a lot of infantry out in a field or an open area, I would use coax, and of course I would use Sabo for any vehicles that you encounter. For helicopters, pick your poison, whichever one. You can use the Sabo, you can use the ATGM. The ATGM allows you to correct as you go, so it's just, are you confident in hitting the first shot with the Sabo, or do you feel you're gonna have to correct your shot's course to actually get the heli? Be careful with the ATGM though, and even Sabo. As you see here, I did hit the heli, but I ended up direct impacting the gunner somehow, and I killed him, and it didn't do any damage to the heli, so that was interesting. Now, the T72 is not a brawling tank. I would not recommend getting in close quarters with this thing. An example, obviously on screen right now, I take out one Leopard, but it is very unforgiving if you miss or if you don't track the tank, which I don't. We end up hurting it, but I think I do bounce at least one of the shots and we end up dying. The T72's reload rate is a lot slower than the Western tanks, and by the time you get 3 shots off, they will have gotten 4 shots off, and it only takes 4 shots to kill you. So getting in close quarters against Western MBTs such as the Leopard, the Canadian Leopard, which is in this example, the Challenger, any of the Abrams, they will outshoot you. And at that point you have to aim for ammo rack shots, which I didn't do here. So the moral of the story is, don't get in this situation. You want to be hull down, or you want to get first shot and be a good distance from them. And our last topic on the T72 is how to kill it. How to kill this thing, it's super easy if the driver of the T72 is not smart. It honestly depends on the crew you're going against. Granted, you could say that about any tank. T72's hull is weak. It is not all that great. You can snipe the ammo rack from the front in between the bolts and the driver's port with 2 sable shots and then a 2-shot ammo racket. You can hit it from the side, 2-shot ammo racket, and also track and double track it at the same time. Its main weakness is its hull, so if you see anywhere on its hull is exposed, hit that. If you track it, it's really good because the T72 stabilization sucks. So if the enemy driver is trying to reposition armor, the gunner is going to get swung around a bit, even if his stabilization is on. It's just how it is. And every tank you'll feel this, but in the T72, it is very drastic. I'll show it on screen. You can see me fighting it because I just know it's coming. And in this situation, we're not even under fire or anything. Now imagine if you're surrounded by infantry and getting hit from all sides, and you're trying to reposition armor to the biggest threat, and your gunner is getting swung around like this. The T72 is easily killed when it overextends, so if you're going against an aggressive T72, take advantage of it. Its reverse speed is super slow, slowest in the game, besides the T62 obviously. And if it tries to turn around, it's just showing its engine to you. That's an easy engine shot to immobilize it, and of course track it. Hats and lats, you may not be able to guarantee a pen on its turret, but if you do see it just out in the open driving around, I recommend a track shot and then to hit it with hat rounds in its side, its front side, middle side, not the back side. I wouldn't recommend shooting shots at its engine constantly because the engine will just eat up that damage. It'll take more shots. Also, as a AT kit, I would not recommend shooting it from the front. There's a high chance of bouncing. So against the T72, try and catch it on its side or rear. Its rear mainly for a mobility kill, which is just taking out its engine and doing a bit of damage, and then trying to get it on its side where you'll do the most damage and potentially one-shot ammo racket with a tandem round. Alright, that's going to do it for the T72 guide. If you do have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. Last video got like 20 something comments and I loved reading through them. It was great to see that much interaction. Also got a couple new subs. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. If you made it this far in the video or just watched the video a little bit, thank you so much. It helps with the algorithm, of course. Again, if you have any questions, please ask them below. I'll do my best to answer them. I usually do. And if I don't have the answer, I'll refer you to somewhere else that probably does have the answer to the best of my ability. Like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. I play on CD, Collateral Damage on the regular server browser. For most of my time on squad, so if you want to play with me, just head on there. Usually I'm leading an infantry squad or playing armor to get footage for these videos. So hope you enjoyed the video, found it helpful, and I will see you guys out there.